Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indie Creative Comics Podcast, where we are all about independent comics. I'm one of your hosts, Angel, with Phil. Oh, I did it again, bro. John Pepe.
How's it going, Angel? It had to
Oh,
come in. It had to
man.
come in.
Dude,
It
it
had to
had
creep
to
in.
come in. I just can't get it out of my brain. I got to scrub it out. Oh, man. What a way to start a Monday. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. It's cold today too, so it's rough December, man.
It is. It was like in the 30s when I woke up this morning, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it's gotten any warmer than that. But it's
Nah.
on the East Coast is really, really cold. So all right, yeah, the fucking Mondays, bro. So for those of you that know the inside of the inside, yeah, John and Phil, they're the same person. Yeah, we won't get too far into it, but
You can go back. We've
it's
talked
like
about it
yeah,
prior. Yeah.
so many times.
It's a little hunt. Go back, watch some of the or listen to some of the audio versions. It's a whole saga.
It's just hysterical. It's just not how you are just so used to something you just can't get it out of your
I
brain.
know.
But it's all good. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Indie Creative Comics Podcast. This is where John and I we kind of we stroll by every Wednesday on the wall. We see our normal big two guys. They take up most of the wall. We skip those guys because most everybody knows those guys. So what we do is we try to see if we can find some creator-owned stuff, some small press, independent comics, take them off the wall, and introduce them to you and give our 2 cents after we've read them. But we also talk about other things that are independent because, dude, it's crazy. Like the amount of content that's out there that's just not the comic book medium that actually is transferred over to, the small silver screen and silver screen that comes from, either graphic novels or the comic medium itself is crazy and it's just growing, which is amazing. And sometimes I'm just like, I'm watching like a preview or something for something that's coming out. I'm like, fuck, I read that book. Like the Old Guard, I never knew it was going to get made. That Ed Rucker thing,
Yeah.
Greg Rucker.
Greg Rucker, yeah.
Yeah, and it was freaking fantastic. And they did 2 movies off of that.
Yeah.
The Old Guard, which was fantastic. So that leads us into what?
Oh well, also this week, Bad Idea has their new series Ordained coming out, and that already has a film adaptation. Yeah. It's like almost a simultaneous comic film release, and that's kind of a new thing for Bad Idea. So we'll probably talk about that next week. So I'm gonna check that one out. I think.
Yeah, and it's cool because I'm like when it comes to like religious stuff or whatever, I'm just like, oh, whatever, and I wasn't interested in it, and then I read the synopsis on it, and then I read the little preview on it. And I was like, holy fuck, I'm sold on it. And basically, in a nutshell, it's a priest who takes the confession of this, I guess, mobster guy, like high up there, who's dying. And so he wants to give his last confession so that his soul can be saved, whatever. Leaves. Finds out that he's not dying. But he made this confession to the priest, and the priest is alive and knows all of his secrets. So guess who can't live? But then also guess who's a freaking ex-Navy SEAL turned priest. So yeah, so there was all these twists and turns in the preview.
And played by Colin Farrell in the movie. So yeah,
really?
Yeah. Apparently, it's Colin Farrell. I guess is the priest in the movie.
Oh, dude, it's sold. Yeah.
So that mob boss is screwed.
It sounds great. I just when I read it read like a comic. So I'm hoping that the whole series, whatever they do, whether it's short or long, and most more than likely it's going to be a miniseries, that it doesn't read like a turn to script kind of thing. I want it to be a comic itself. So yeah, looking forward to that one coming out this week. So yeah, look out for the review for that one next Monday. Yeah, cool. So that brings us right into the news. All right, so what do we got? So we got a bunch. So we were just talking about stuff transferring over to the small screen and silver screen. There's a bunch of shows that are actually in the works. So I didn't know about the Ordained. Thank you for bringing that one up. And we spoke about that in length in regards to, writers or creators that are writing for their stuff to become adopted to the screen, as opposed to creators who want to put their stuff out as a traditional comic. That's the way that it was meant to be. And if it transfers over, cool. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But it's a comic first at its heart. And sometimes we can read stuff that feels almost like a treatment for something that wants to be greenlit for the big screen. Screw you, bro. Write a script. Let's do a comic. All right, so a couple of things that are coming out. So I think Berserker, the animated series, that
Mm.
Reeves book that came out with was it Matt Kent, right?
Matt Kent wrote the first miniseries. Most of the one shots have been different creative teams.
Yeah, different creators, but it's still around that Keanu Reeves immortal character,
Immortal John Wick.
Berserker. Yeah, Immortal John Wick. So have you guys had a chance to read it from Boom Studios? I believe they're in the process of doing an animated movie of that series, which would be cool. I'll watch it. The first volume was actually pretty cool, and then they started coming out with these one shots and other volumes that were just ridiculously priced. I mean, a one shot I think was like $9.99. I'm like, oh, book or latte, book or latte. And the latte went out. And then I think Criminal came out last week as well. Its previous series was like, I don't know how many years ago, where it was in single issues. And then all of a sudden it started coming out in like a graphic novel form, each part of the series. This is the Ed Brubaker. And what's the other guy who's the artist?
Sean
Something
Phillips.
Yeah, Sean Phillips. Yeah, so I picked it up. I just haven't had a chance to read it. I never read the original series, but I heard it was really good. So I decided to pick it up, and I think this is it was a really good jumping point to come on. And I think they were trying to bring this book out because there's a Criminal show that's coming on Amazon, and I think they were trying to time it around that time. And now I think Amazon's pushed that release back till I think 2026 sometime. So it gives me a little bit of time to read it. So if you know the series, then just know that there's a show coming out for it sometime probably in the first quarter of 2026. The other one that I'm looking forward to that ended up on Dynamite, but I don't remember where it started. No, did it start at Dynamite and end up somewhere else? The Boys.
Oh, right. Started Wildstorm.
Wildstorm, that's right. And ended up on Dynamite having released the rest of that. Fifth season, bro. Final season. Did you watch any of it?
I haven't watched it.
Holy fuck.
I know.
That's just one wild. Listen, the books were over the top, and I have to give it to the creators that did the showrunner. I give them kudos for trying to do a lot of what was in those books, because what was in those books was just beyond imagination. I think it could only be in a comic book. This is the one time that I say that freaking the book was definitely much better than the show, because it just did not leave anything for the imagination. It left everything all in those books. So that should be coming out, I believe, in the first quarter of next year, soon. So yeah, fifth and final season. I think it's going to be a short season as well. But they have their spinoff, Gen V, which I think is still going to be kicking on along for a couple more seasons. The next one that I thought was really interesting, I don't know if you remember, it was another Boom book, I believe. It was called Grimm.
Grimm. I remember Grimm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started reading, I definitely read through the first volume. I found it really interesting. This is where we get sort of like this girl who's, in the land of the dead, and she ends up killing the Grim Reaper and becomes the Grim Reaper. In essence. So yeah, it was a pretty cool take, and she gets chased by all these different types of beings that are in the afterworld and stuff like that. So they're doing an animated style, which I think is cool. I think live action stuff like that would probably be a harder sell. I think animated, you get away with a little bit more in regards to the creativity stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's in the works now. Who knows when it's going to come out? If you've not read it, I would definitely pick up the first volume, because that first collection of 6 issues is a really tight story. The thing that killed that book, though, honestly, was production, because it got into the second volume, and then issues were sporadic. They wouldn't come out for like 6 months or whatever it was. It's finally closing. I'm not sure what issue number. I think it's 20 something, almost in the 30s, where it's actually coming to an end. So it's going to be a closed story off of that.
It's something that does happen often, not just with indie comics or creator-owned stuff, but yeah, a lot of times, Tinian does this a lot. He'll do a big chunk of a run and then take some time off and come back to it. Brian Vaughan with Saga does a very similar thing, and sometimes they forewarn you, and sometimes they don't. Looking at like Lucky Devils right now, the Ryan Brown, Charles Sewell.
Yep.
Thing that has kind of stalled at like issue 5. It's been several months now before we've got
Really?
this issue. Yeah, and sometimes things happen, right? Sometimes certain things happen on the creative end. Sometimes things happen on a production end. Sometimes guys' workloads are just so heavy that they just got to kind of parse it out like that. But yes, it is a little frustrating when you don't get that advance notice. It shouldn't feel like a courtesy to keep your readers informed of when you're coming back.
Yeah. It's funny because they did 11 billion genies or something
8 billion.
right before that. 8 billion genies before that, and that series ran all the way through, which was great.
Yeah.
There was no stall on that one. I mean, it happens, especially with Vaughn when he stopped Saga. It was to do other projects, so it wasn't like they're not doing anything. They're doing probably multiple projects at once. Listen, schedules are tight, and it's the creative stuff is it's a long process. I was reading something this morning on the Ultimates that it's already, or the Ultimate line from Marvel, that it's on the second year already.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's 24 months. It's crazy.
And it's theoretically coming to an end.
Yes. But the fact that 2 years have gone by and that's still fresh in my mind, just coming out that line, it's insane. Yeah, if books are coming out monthly, you got 12 books in a year. It's insane, really, really insane. So it's cool. We'll see. Grimm's going to be coming to an end, but we have the animation. If you've not read it, definitely worth a read. So definitely worth a pickup there.
And sometimes I feel these animated first adaptations are almost a testing ground to see if it would fly in live action. Sometimes they do the animated and it does well. Wait a couple years and then okay, we're gonna do this live action.
And I think there's more things crossing over into that space, because if we look at what Robert Kirkman's been able to do in that space, and we have how many different streaming services out there now, just so many. I mean, there's content freaking everywhere. So the fact that there isn't a base for it, that there's a streaming service that'll freaking pretty much take on anything. Yeah. So I think, just like it's easy enough now for creators to get their projects done comic wise, from, conception to print to, different distribution channels, where it's just not the retailer anymore. The industry's changing. So there's multiple distribution, funnels that they can go through. I think that's happening in the same medium space as, small screen, where the streaming services will pick up, stuff that is independent, that's creator owned kind of thing, which is, I think, great. It's just a matter of whether or not you can find it, because it's just so much out there. Which brings us to our next thing, dude. Netflix.
Yeah.
I've
heard of them.
Holy crap. So right now it looks like that may be going through unless the FCC stops it.
Well, actually, new wrinkle this morning.
Really?
Paramount Comcast is now making what is termed a hostile counter bid, because remember, Paramount Skydance, I guess. They initially made that bid for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers rejected it. Netflix made this counter offer for more money. So now Paramount is saying, we're going to make a counter offer. So it is now in hostile bidding war territory.
That's
crazy. Really, really, really quick. Because once this news broke, you had a lot of different camps kind of giving their thoughts on what they felt was going to happen now once this acquisition was announced.
Right.
But like you had started to say, it still has to go through FCC approval. It's, there's still a lot of mileage between an offer and ink is dry on a contract.
Correct.
So people right now who are either worried about what's going to happen to James Gunn's DCU, or thinking Zack Snyder's Snyderverse is coming back because of his partnership with Netflix, cool your jets. Nothing's going to happen right now.
Wow.
Everything that is still slated to come out is still going to come out next year. Netflix has said that they're not going to direct to Netflix a lot of things that are already geared for theatrical release over the next couple of years, because they really they want Warner Brothers for that cinema distribution. That's
Right.
no doubt. Netflix has been tipping their toes in the water of cinema distribution. And I think they kind of, after Frankenstein was so well received, but
Mhm.
had such a limited theatrical release, and everybody who saw it in the theaters said this movie should have really had a wider theatrical release. I think that was a good, kind of a wake up call for them, that like you want to go all in on getting people into the theaters to watch some stuff.
Right.
And what they're doing now isn't quite doing that. And so it makes sense why they want to do this. As far as like the Zack Snyderverse thing, it's done. Like he's moved on. Everybody's kind of got to move on with this.
Yes.
Someone made a really good point that Netflix is actually not happy with Zack Snyder because of what happened with Rebel Moon. And so Netflix is not buying Warner Brothers to give Snyder the Snyderverse back. When someone said that, in my head, it was like, oh, if they're really mad at him, they're just buying Warner Brothers to ensure that he never does the Snyderverse.
No, I don't even think he's in the thought process of them even buying Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
I think it's right. They want the studio rights and they want the distribution rights.
Yeah.
My concern is what happens to the print for that.
Right.
Because that's not part of it.
So specifically, this is the film and television aspect.
Correct.
Not including CNN and TNT, the news stuff. That is separate. That's the other part why there's a lot of mileage, because they actually, Warner Discovery has to separate in order for this to happen. And so where does DC Comics lie in that as well? Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, there's a possibility that the publishing aspect is not included, but I think it's still, I don't know. That's a really, I haven't looked too far into it. But yeah, like if that's not part of it and Disney decides we want to buy the DC Comics aspect as well.
How crazy would that be?
That would be insane. That would be absolutely insane.
But,
but if the film rights don't go along with that, why would you do that? Right. So it's that's the one thing I haven't really looked into as to where the comic stuff does lie. But again, your DCU, your prior to that, your DCEU, yes, they're DC Comics properties, but they are part of Warner Brothers Film and Television. Right. But we've also noticed with again, plethora of streaming services and fracturing of stuff. If you notice, when Amazon won that bid to get the Batman Caped Crusader cartoon a couple of years ago, about a year later, I noticed all the Batman cartoon stuff is now on Amazon Prime. That's not on HBO Max anymore. So, but yet some of the other animated stuff is on Prime, but some of the other animated stuff is still on HBO Max. So it's really weird how it's all going to shake out. Again,
but those could be short-term licenses, because I know with Netflix and the whole Marvel Daredevil thing, they were on there for a while, and then as soon as they came under the Disney umbrella, they're no longer there. Their license expired.
Those shows were produced under Netflix, like by Netflix for Marvel Studios. Yeah.
Right.
And then, that's another thing too about streaming services only want shows to run about 3 seasons max.
Correct.
Because anything more than that, they have to pay more residuals and more rights to the creators.
Yes.
That's why you see a lot of shows get canceled and then retitled with different showrunners and stuff like that. So it's a crazy business.
It's a whole
Zack Snyder's not making it easier by continuing to post pictures from his films.
It just drives fuel.
But you know what? God bless him, because he keeps himself in the headlines, right?
Yeah.
He keeps himself in and he gets people talking.
But it'll be interesting. But regardless, it's going to be more than a year before any of the stuff is settled down and assets gone through. So, rest assured, we're still going to get Supergirl next year.
And that's I think I was thinking about this earlier this morning, like that's sort of a thing with this internet age. Like when we were younger, if these acquisitions happened, we really didn't know until they happened. Right. But now it's like you get the whiff and media and content and everybody has to jump on stuff. So, so many times it happens across the board for a lot of things now. So many times someone will come into the shop and they'll be like, oh yeah, I heard this book came out. And they'll show me what they saw, and it's a press release for a book that's not going to come out for 6 months. So it's sort of like this sort of shoot first, ask questions later, headline first, I'm not going to read the article. I'm just going to go and get this thing that I just read exists, but it doesn't actually exist yet. You know?
Yeah, no, and the internet's infamous for it because it's all clickbait.
Yeah.
You just give them this big flashy title, and then there's no substance in the article.
Or
which is
people
crazy.
just are, and people are used to that, so they're not reading the article to see like this is an announcement. It's not a release.
Right. They're inferring their own ideas in regards to the title. So, yeah. Which brings me to our next thing. So, movies great, comics even better. Every year, the very first Saturday in May is what?
Free Comic Book Day.
Yes. So, Free Comic Book Day 2026. Now, Free Comic Book Day was owned by Diamond.
Yep.
Diamond got sold off into pieces. Universal picked up that distribution, also picked up Free Comic Book Day from that whole deal, from what I understand. Then there was a question as to whether or not Free Comic Book Day was going to happen in 2026. Then there was some rumbling that some creators were getting together to do their own Free Comic Book Day. And then now the latest news that I've heard is this. One, Lunar Universal is doing Free Comic Book Day. However, PRH, which is Penguin Random House, that distributes Boom, Marvel, Distillery, IDW, they're doing their own Free Comic Book Day called Comic Free for All. Dude, what in the flying?
Not to mention the fact that Free Comic Book Day is a licensed name. So the other thing I heard was that part of that deal was whoever's going to get Free Comic Book Day can't quite use the name, or is this Lunar's going to call it, or not Lunar, but Lunar will call it First Saturday in May. I've heard that,
something like that,
bandied about. So yeah, again, like,
well, no, not Lunar, because Lunar is under Universal. So Universal has the title. So it was the
so
guys
you do have the rights to use Free Comic Book.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was the guys that wanted to do their own. They were going to call it first Saturday in May.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. But dude, you can't. How are you going to promote that?
Yeah.
Like, how is that going to promote it, and what are you going to put in the store? And
yeah,
it's going to be really weird.
And the other potential too is, if Penguin Random House decides to do a comic free for all, they don't have to do it on the first Saturday of May.
That's correct.
So they could do it on the second Saturday of May, and then that's just kind of like, now you're diluting the event, right?
Not only that, how many comic shops are going to actually freaking do two events back to back? And then how do you expect the audience to build off of that?
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be dumb. And from what I understand right now, there aren't any big books from PRH.
Right.
So far, there's 2 titles that they've released that they're going to do for their comic free for all. One is a graphic novel, and one is they're not even like Marvel books or IDW book. They're not comic books.
Right.
And then I think as far as Lunar, let me see what they had. They had a bunch here that I had here. What did they have? Some Vault books, Mad Cave books, AWA books are coming out. So you have, I think, what do you have? Dungeon Crawler Zero, Anana, The Name She Lost. These are the Vault books. Then you got Gun Honey and Conan from Titan and stuff like that. And then you got a bunch of AWA books. Yeah, so it's just weird. Like, there's more creator-owned books coming out in the Lunar. I didn't see anything as far as DC or anything like I didn't see any of the big 2 stuff. I didn't even see any Image stuff yet. So all of this stuff is sort of like up in the air, which is crazy because it's December and these books have to be ordered soon for May.
Yep.
And for those of you folks who think the comic books are free, yes, when you walk into the store, those comic books that are printed for that day are free, yet they still cost the retailers money to purchase those books. They're not as high as the cost they would be for normal books, but there's still a cost to it. So marketing wise, promotion wise, ordering FOC stuff for all this fucking shit, how the hell is that going to happen? Like, it should start happening like now.
Yeah.
To get ready. You're talking about 5 months. That's gonna fly by real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need, the publishers need time to send their books to print. You need time to market the stuff. Yeah. When I read it, I was just like, "What the fly fuck?" Because the last thing I understood was that Universal did get the rights to Free Comic Book Day,
Okay.
and that they were going to have, Lunar, and whoever under it to just to do it. So now it's just being split up. And if you're right, if they split the days, that'll be horrible.
Ugh, yeah.
If it's the same day with two different names, that'll be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what promotion pieces do you put up if they both have promotion pieces? That's just
Yeah.
going to be crazy. It's
Yeah.
going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So it sucks because it's been around for what, over 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Free Comic Book Day, and I think this is going to be like the last one that we had. Diamond, I think, was barely together. I think they were already being sold off.
They eked the last one out. Yeah, they just got it under the gun. Yeah.
Yeah, because all the books came from Diamond and everything like that. So, right?
I think. Well, no, because there was still Lunar and Penguin Random House. It was the free. It was the Free Comic Day branding at that point.
Branding on it. Yeah. At that point.
That was still
so now, that's the thing. Yeah. So now what's going to happen with the branding and stuff like that? So listen, I think it was PRH that walked away from the table and said nope. Like Marvel was in it, as far as I understand, to say, hey, yeah, we're going to join Free Comic Book Day, and PRH said, we're the distributor, so we decide what's going to happen, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a pissing contest right now. So we'll see what happens. As far as I know, we'll have something. What it is, we just don't know at the moment. I just hope it doesn't kill that day.
Yeah.
Because out of sheer stupidity. But just as details come out, we'll keep you guys updated. But just know as of right now, there will be a Free Comic Book Day and possibly a comic free-for-all day as well, which is so stupid. Oh man, I can't do it. Yeah. All right, wait. There was one last one too, dude. Freaking Barbaric, right?
Okay.
Love that freaking series.
Yep.
Love fucking Owen. Just the whole thing. Every time these guys take a break, because they do it in chunks. They'll do it in 4-issue chunks or 5-issue chunks. A different story. It's coming back. There's another series to this. If you don't know what we're talking about, Barbaric is this barbarian whose name is Owen, who's cursed to hold his axe. And the axe can actually talk, but Owen's the only one that can hear it. And the axe it just gets drunk off of blood. And Owen is cursed to do good. So if there's somebody who's in need of help or anything like that, he's obligated to help. That's the curse that he has. And he has a whole bunch of people that he's met along the way. And there's been some great stories. If you've not read it, it's fantastic. It's not written in that old Thor language, which is driving me freaking insane. It's just contemporary language. It's just really clever. It's a really great take on the trope of like Conan and that sorts. So Michael Bay is set to possibly be directing a Barbaric movie.
All right.
Fuck yes to that. Fuck yes to that, because all he knows is just blood, which is fantastic.
It's gonna be hard to do as many explosions in that medieval world, though.
But he's action. He's action. So you're gonna get 100%. A lot of fucking action and a lot of blood. It's gonna be I'm down for it.
Action.
Yes, you're gonna get action. Very, very clever. So listen out for that. So if it does end up happening and there's what goes into production, we'll definitely let you guys know about it. But if you've not read the book, it's from the publisher Vault. Really, really freaking just a really fun read, really quick reads too as well. The art is amazing. It's definitely pick it up. Barbaric. I think it's already on its 3rd volume, and there's been a couple like one shots here and there, or it's coming on to its 3rd volume. But something definitely worth checking out in that respect. So I forgot that one from before. All right, cool. That's all the news that we have for you today. It's a lot of news, bro. We got no more dead famous people, right? No, thankfully for now. There was one other thing too, and this is out of the scope, but I just wanted to mention it. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not even going to mention it. I know it's going to piss some people off. OCD. Sorry, guys. All right, cool. So that's gonna bring us into our reviews section. Cool. Yeah. So we have books from last week because you were absent last week, and then books from this week. So we I think a total of 3 books. The shelves towards the end of the year tend to get kind of slim, but fortunately, we do have some stuff that's coming out this week, which we're really looking forward to reading and checking out. But we do have a couple of books from the last couple of weeks. But before we get into that, really, really quickly, just another reminder: yes, we are 100% funded with Project Shadow Breed. Justin, who's the creator, we had him on, I think, 2 weeks ago. John did a sit down with him to talk all things Project Shadow Breed. You can head over to the YouTube channel under the Indie Creator Spotlight and check out that interview that he had with him. It was pretty cool. He got some really good insight on how Project Shadow Breed came about, its incarnations and stuff like that, and a little bit about how we actually struggle through this industry of being able to get this project done and being able to go through not only multiple creators but multiple publishers too. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is that when it comes to the true indie space, the true creator owned, you're doing it all yourself, how really difficult it is when you're trying to collaborate with other people out there that are trying to promise you the world but don't deliver. And it's unfortunate, and that's not just creator to creator. Sometimes it's small publishers that really want. I mean, and it comes, honestly, most of the time it comes from a really good place where publishers want to be able to do this for you. But listen, sometimes they just fall short. Everything in this freaking world takes money to get off the ground, and once you run the well dry, then it makes it really difficult to. It makes it really difficult to move forward with things. And unfortunately, communication is not key for a lot of these people. So the word ghosted definitely freaking was invented way before it was used. So, but with that being said, yes, we're really excited. Justin and I went back to the drawing board. He buckled down, listened to a lot of the feedback that we got. And we just, I think, John had a chance to read it and saw the revision of it. And I think you like the direction that it was going in. We love it. So we're ahead. He's got the first 25 issues already mapped out, which is fantastic, titles and all. And we just had a conversation about it the other day, so I'm really excited about that. And I think there's some point in the releases, it's almost like a bad guy of the week kind of thing, and it kind of reminded me of old school villain of the week in whatever show you were watching kind of stuff. So we go through a little period of that, but it ties into the overall story really, really, really well as we bring them in. But we're 100% funded. We end on December 15th, so there's still 7 days in. If you guys are interested or may know somebody who want to support us, just send them over to projectshadowbreed.com and have them take a look at the project, and if they want to support, that'd be absolutely fantastic. But we're in our final 7 days, and as soon as these 7 days are done, what's really awesome about this project is that it's complete. So once everything gets funded in and we have all that we need, everything's just going to be printed out and shipped almost immediately. So I think we have sort of like a January time for everybody to receive their books along with their rewards. So yeah, we're really excited about it. So it's cool. Thank you guys that have supported, because you continue to support us and not just through listening to the show, but actually supporting us through the Kickstarter. It's been really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's a really, really solid first issue. And I think the physical copy is going to just feel great in people's hands, and they're going to really enjoy the experience. And I really enjoyed getting a chance to finally talk to Justin, because I've only known him by proxy for a few years now through you and through his writing. But yeah, what a really cool guy. Great conversation. Loved getting into, what his creative process was, how what is now Indie Creator Comics came to be. And my favorite Justin Bart's fact, though, that I learned from that interview is that one of his favorite movies and one of his inspirations is Highlander. And I just thought that was
man. All right, we're not going to go down a rabbit hole.
More inside jokes, folks. More inside up.
We're not going to go down a rabbit hole. But after that interview, after I heard it, like I think 2 days ago, maybe, I started watching it again. And 2 days ago, I finished it. And I looked up at the sky and I said, this movie still fucking sucks. It still sucks. Here, but I need people to understand because I know there's Highlander fucking cultists out there. The concept of that movie is phenomenal. I love the concept. I think choosing a director who directed nothing but music videos was, and listen, he did some cool stuff. Like there's some cool like visuals in that.
That tracking
really
shot in
appreciate.
Madison Square Garden when you see, like that's
yes,
a great shot.
When he's getting in the car,
and sunglasses and stuff like that. Yeah.
No, there's stuff that I know that he never did or anything like that, and he tried. And I'm not going to take away from that because there was some really cool things in there. Mm-hmm. I think it was just sort of like this. I think the concept was too big for somebody who'd not directed a movie of that scale.
Yeah.
Because there were still questions for me. Like the first time Kurgan came out and found him, not in the field, but when in the modern time, like they did their first fight. I was like, how the fuck did he find him? How did he even know where he was? Like unless I missed something with the quickening where they can feel where they are, then yes, then I can see that.
It's funny that you mentioned that because in the original cut, the quickening is more like the Force. It is something that is, brings everything together. And so the Highlanders, or not the Highlanders, but the Immortals, that is part of their power set, is that they can feel when one is close. They can, they can be one with nature. Like this is all in the original cut.
Right.
Unfortunately, they didn't listen to their own tagline of there can be only one. And they decided to do sequels of movies and a television series. And the television series modified what the quickening was to where it was only a one-time event where one immortal kills another and then they absorb their essence. So when they went back and did this special edition director's cut of what you can now get for Highlander, they cut out all these references of the quickening not there can only be one, but the quickening being allowing you to communicate with nature and other animals. Like there's a scene in the original cut where Ramirez, Sean Connery, the Scottish actor playing a Spaniard by way of
Egyptian,
where he tells Connor to get in the mind of this elk, right? And then that's when they run, and with that power of the elk, he's able to actually beat him on the beach in that Rocky III-esque scene where they're running on the beach. And so that gets excised because they wanted the mythology to sort of fall in line with the show, which had become really popular. So that's a thing. Like that's literally a thing with Highlanders, that because unfortunately the Highlander and its subsequent sequels have been like, and the show really messed up the mythology and over edited. Like there's like 4 different versions of Highlander 2. Don't watch any of them. Like just stick with the first movie, because there is,
there's no more. There's no more after the first one.
Exactly.
There's no more attempts at watching. Even the one with Mario Van Peebles. I was like, dude, the whole fucking thing was just a mess. Listen, the overall concept of it was really cool. I think it was probably a little bit ahead of its time, but then just the way that it was, and like by any stretch of the means, it's not horrible. I've seen worse fucking movies. But I just think it was just like, I loved the going back and forth with him and like remembering stuff and then coming back in. It was just it was a culmination of everything. It was, the casting wasn't the best. The fact that he was in the bar, all the actors were actually Scottish. Like they had these really great fucking accents. And then you got this French guy trying to speak Scottish, and he only gave him like 2 or 3 words in a line to say. And then you got a Scottish person playing a Spaniard who's from Egypt, who didn't even try to do an accent of a Spaniard. It was just a Scottish accent.
I
So
mean, and
yeah, it was
you're right. It is both ahead of its time, but also very much of its time because that is
correct.
just a very almost a quintessential mid
Yes,
'80s
that is
movie.
80s movie.
Yeah,
Yes, for sure.
and that is again, there's certain limitations, special effects, pacing, things like that that are very antiquated now. There is a sequel. Henry Cavill, Russell Crowe will be doing the
Yes,
Sean Connery role.
yes, yes.
Dave Bautista will be taking over the Kurgan.
Kurgan role, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Which again, I mean, what's his name?
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown kills it in that movie. He's a high
Oh,
point in that movie. There's no doubt.
yes, for sure.
But now apparently they've also added in Jeremy Irons and pulling from the show these watchers who now who are watch the Immortals. Right, that wasn't in the original concept.
Right.
Now they're going to graft that onto the remake. The guy who did John Wick is directing the remake. I like the casting.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little concerned though, because I really feel that there is a kind of magic to that first movie that whether you love it or hate it, I don't know if the remake is going to recapture.
You know where the magic comes from, right? That fucking soundtrack.
Exactly.
Anything that Queen sings,
exactly.
fuck that.
It's a great
fucking
soundtrack.
gold.
Yeah.
That's that freaking who wants to live forever.
Or just
Dude,
the insanity of Princes of the Universe and all those like quick time changes and like Freddie screaming in the middle of the song. Like it's it is that is
so I have to come back. I'll pull back in a second. I have a love-hate relationship with this movie. I've not sat down in one sitting and seen it all the way through because I get so infuriated. But yes. So anybody who's a Highlander cultist, I mean, no disparity against. no ill intention.
Even the most diehard Highlander fan who loves everything that has been produced about Highlander has a love-hate relationship with the franchise.
Oh man, dude, and the one I love that each sword was unique to the Highlander or to the Immortal. Mm-hmm. That was the other thing. There was so many missed opportunities there where they could have actually freaking sold each one of those swords.
Oh, they sell those as replicas. Oh yeah.
Oh shit, yeah, it's fucking great. All right, we got off into a tangent.
Next week, Angel's gonna have Connor McLeod's katana.
Oh, katana!
He got from Ramirez hanging behind him there
600 times by hand. Fantastic. All right,
and that is wait, really quick though. That's a magical katana because he could wear it under his overcoat and yet sit comfortably in an MSG seat in the upper tier.
First of all, he's in the middle of a fucking wrestling event. Like what was going on? He's wearing a trench coat. He's the only one wearing a trench coat in a sea of all these people that are watching this wrestling event in MSG. He has his sword. I don't know where his sword is hidden.
Because
then he stands up,
sweating, the light shining in his eyes.
There's so many different things. And a guy doing 100 flips in the freaking garage. He's doing the flips, and then when he gets up, he has a sword in his hand. But when he's doing the flips, he doesn't have the sword in his hand. You know why? Because you can't flip backflips that many with a fucking sword in your hand. All right, I got to move on because I'm getting heated now. But go watch Highlander. You'll love it. All right, moving on. So first one. All right, we both read this book, so I'm going to. Ooh, could I do that? Yes, wonderful. I'm going to talk to this first. So this is Devil on My Shoulder from Dark Horse Comics. I'm going to get the creative team out of the way because this book, we've got something to talk about this book. All right, so the script is Kyle Sparks. Art is Peter Kowalski. It's Piotr Kowalski. Colors by Brad Simpson and letters by Joshua Reed. The only thing I'm going to say really honestly is this book was fucking great. Yeah. It was gross. It made me turn my head a couple times. It made me infuriated all at the same time. And then at the very end, it just left me like, oh, fucking, it gave me, did you see that movie with Garner? Who's the chick that played Elektra?
Jennifer Garner, yeah.
Jennifer Garner. Did you ever see that movie Peppermint?
No.
It's sort of like her Punisher kind of movie. Yeah. It almost gave me those vibes at the very end.
Yeah.
Really quickly. So you got this one girl, not sure what her name is because she's only mentioned once as T-E-E. I don't know if it's short for something, But basically, she's working at this market late night, has to stay there, leaving by herself, gets abducted by these 5 boys who take her. And for 45 days, torture her, all in unique, different ways. And then she gives them names in her head of each one. And they all do crazy things to her in regards to, how they torture and stuff like that. Like putting honey on her arm and having fire ants just go at it, to choking her, to just giving her contaminated water to drink, cat food to eat, on top of beating her and stuff like that. And then until finally they do the worst possible thing, which is give her the news that her parents committed suicide because they could not find her daughter's body at all. Yeah, and I mean these are probably teenagers or so.
She calls them boys, but yeah, they're I think they're definitely teenagers.
Yeah, they're late teenagers, maybe into the early, maybe the one guy is probably early 20s or whatever it is, the silent guy. But you see sort of like the most of the story, the meat of the story is just them each day and her sort of like narrating what's going on in her mind, what's keeping her kind of going, and then what they do to her at the end, then her being found not being dead, and then jumping 4 years where now these boys are probably men, they're quite successful, and then that page turner at the end, the way that it just leaves it, just left me like, holy shit, I need to see more. I'm not giving a lot of detail on purpose, only because this book is definitely in my mind worth the read. Mm-hmm. It's not a superhero trope. It's not a Western. It's not a love story. It's its own thing of just human soul survival, all the way to the end. This was really great. This was, for me, it was sort of like a good break from the norm of what we normally read. Mm-hmm. Even though the subject, and it's crazy because in the very first beginning, it does say, it has a big ass warning on it.
Warning, yeah.
Yeah, just saying, hey, this book contains disturbing depictions of torture, kidnapping, graphic violence against women, physical abuse, and death. We promise her revenge will be just as bad. So, and they delivered on it. So, yeah, this creative team definitely came up with something that said, you know what, we've kind of seen stuff like this in the past, but I think not to this degree. That they really pushed the envelope on a lot of this stuff, and now we can kind of see where it's going to go, because there's a little bit of like Jennifer Lopez enough in there. Like I said, Jennifer Garner's freaking Peppermint. You can see sort of like it going in that direction, where it's a female Punisher taking revenge for what's happened to her and stuff like that. Yeah. What do you think?
I thought it was great. I mean, first of all, I'm really, really happy that we have someone like Kyle Starks writing comics. I've enjoyed a lot of his work, almost all of it that I've read. When he works with Peter Kowalski, they're a great team together because he kind of gets it. Because I'm really happy because not only does Kyle Starks write great comics, I'm also happy because I worry that if he wasn't writing comics, he would be in jail, because a lot of his stories do deal with serial killers, dark underbellies of society. So him and Peter Kowalski previously did the Where Monsters Lie and Where Monsters Lie Cul-de-sac, which is about a gated community for serial killers. And
love that series.
Oh, they're great. It's great. And one of the things is as horrific as these characters are, or these situations are, there is a little bit of a lightheartedness, a parody, a sort of like it's okay, it's only a comic book aspect to it. He did another really great miniseries called Pine and Merrimack with Fran Galan, which is again not as serial killer focused, but definitely dark underbelly society focused. Kyle does incredible character work, and I think to do really good, effective horror, you do need solid character work. And, so Kyle always delivers on that assignment. And again, yeah, just the teaming of him and Kowalski is great. This trope is, the movie that immediately came to my mind was I Spit on Your Grave, which is like a late 70s, early 80s movie. Pretty much the same deal, right? Girl gets tortured. She seeks revenge on those that did this to her and left her for dead. And so that's where this is going. Clearly, this just sets everything up. As horrific as everything was, I do appreciate how it actually was very understated on the page. They do the thing that you talk about a lot where they'll mention something or they'll show something, and in your mind you are actually like when he's got the hedge clippers, right?
Yes.
There's one panel, one kid with the hedge clippers. They don't show what he does with that hedge clippers. They put that in your mind, and now you are also complicit in that crime because you're what did he do with the hedge clippers?
There's a lot of inference. So I really appreciated not only how horrific it was for her experience, because it's all told from her point of view, it's very traumatic, but I also liked the restraint as well. That I would feel comfortable giving this to a female reader, right? Because I think that they're not going to be overtly horrified. They're going to be with her on her mission of revenge. Right.
And it looks like each issue of this miniseries, it's going to be taking them out one at a time. And we're going to get some, so that'll kind of get a little space to breathe and some play, and we'll see how that goes. I also definitely feel, and I think not just because it's in the title and in that cover image, I definitely feel there's going to be a supernatural element that is going to come forth in here. Okay. I think it's hinted at by the one kid, the one boy who sits there and kind of watches them and tells them things to do, but doesn't actively participate.
Right.
There's something very ghostly about him and his appearance, the slick back blonde hair, the pale skin, the white suit. You don't see him when it jumps forward 4 years at the table with the other guys. All these guys are now successful, probably because what they did to her, because this guy was some sort of devil that was made him a deal. But I feel the twist is going to be it's the same devil that preserved her, kept her alive. And so his sort of end game is cause people to do wickedness,
right,
and then use the person that they committed this act against to enact the revenge to get them to collect the souls to go down. That's where I think
she could see him too. So
I think he's there. I just feel that there's something about him that we might get.
We'll see. You're right.
But boy, what a visceral experience that really is a little unnerving, no doubt. But
and it's funny that you mention it, because in all the stuff that I've read that he's written, like especially with the horror stuff, there's this underlying humanity that he gives to the characters. Even the characters that are doing really bad things, sometimes you almost feel for them, which is not what you're supposed to do when you're dealing with fucking criminals and fucking. But like even the way the guys talk to each other, they sound really immature. So, but they don't sound like, even though they're doing really bad shit, they don't sound like they're fucking horrible. They sound like they're just enjoying something that a little kid would be doing.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because you, even in her narration, as much as she's like, they're all going to die. Those are the words that she says when she's found. I'm going to kill them all. Yeah. You could also get a sense, maybe it's a little bit of Stockholm syndrome after being there for 45 days or whatever, almost like a Jesus on the cross, forgive them, they know not what they do.
Right.
But I'm still going to cut their dicks off when time comes. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, for sure. A definite read, guys. Devil on My Shoulder from Dark Horse Comics. Definitely worth the read on that. So yeah, thank you, Kyle Starks, for bringing in the dark side. We love it. Keep bringing it in. All right, wonderful. All right, your next one from last week.
Yes. So it's Arcadia. Not this one. The other one.
Yeah, there you go.
So I bring it up because now, granted, the actual official title for this one that I just held up is Batman Green Arrow: The Question Arcadia.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
And I bring it up because I know this has probably happened before in the past, but I can't remember when the same week, same day, two different titles from two different publishers come out with the same title, essentially, right? So the one that we're going to talk about, as you have up there, is by the Miranda Brothers. It is called Arcadia. It is another one from Jamie S. Rich's Ignition Press. So written by Aniki and Roy Miranda, art by Anaki Miranda, art by Anaki Miranda, colored by Ava De La Cruz, lettered by Dave Sharp, and it is edited by Jamie Rich with assistant edit by Nora Ornstein. And the Miranda brothers have pretty impressive credits here. Together, they're writers and creators of Black Forager and We Live, which was nominated for an Eisner Award for Best Limited Series. Inaki on his own is done art for Action Comics, Catwoman, Harley Quinn, Coffin Hill. He's done some Godzilla work. Here There Be Dragons. He's gotten an Eisner nomination, Best Penciler, Inker. And then Roy is a rapper, writer, and creative director. So he is part of the Spanish hip hop scene as Ray Mercurio, L.E. Flaco, a founding member of the genre-bending collective Dremin, known in the Spanish hip-hop scene as Ray Mercurio, L.E. Flaco. So these guys got some very impressive credits. I've never read any of their stuff or that I've known before. So this was a pleasant surprise, because this is one of the things that I usually don't gravitate towards. You have a post-apocalyptic future. Humanity no longer exists. The only living beings that really exist are they call them savants. They're basically they were hatched from these sort of human-shaped eggs in these refineries, and they come out pretty much fully formed, and they age, it seems, pretty rapidly, and then they just kind of mainline. But they have these pearls in their head, and that's like all of their information and knowledge. And upon death, it seems that these pearls can be removed and saved to transport these memories, this soul, into another body at some point. But they run the risk of being corrupted by this sort of infection, which again gives you these zombie, feral zombie people out there running in the wild. And a lot of these people have to live in hiding from that. And you basically have these excavators, because this program that was that's hatching these things no longer exists, but there's all these refineries still buried. So you have two characters who are excavating that, and while they're there, they're attacked by some ferals inside this refinery. They accidentally trigger the birthing matrix, or whatever it is, where one of these beings emerges, first time in however many years, as like a young boy, and they have to make their escape with this newly hatched kid, but one of them got bit by the feral, and he has to he does the right thing. He has to take himself out because he knows what happens. So now basically the one excavator left brings this kid back to his to where he lives. He has another of these folks here, who she's called Fix, because she fixes all the cars and the cycles and all that stuff that these guys drive. And this guy is the newborn is named Halu, because he was born hatched in Hall U, which I thought was really neat. And so basically you have you jump forward a bit, where now this newborn as he grows up, he's the partner now to the one of the original excavators, and this guy's kind of discovered the secret of what these pearls do, but he realizes that he has sort of what they call like the rot, where his body is now decaying, and he's gonna die. And so one of the things I kind of dug about this, especially in their description about where they want to go with this, is that this starts here on Earth, in this very sort of retro society with like no real electricity. It's almost like they live in the Old West, even though it's the far future, which I thought was really cool. But he says this is gonna span generations, and it's gonna expand well off world. So they have this very large generational story. It seems like they're telling, and it reminded me a little bit of Skinbreaker.
Mm.
How you got this sort of generational tale being told through each issue, it seems right now, you know. So I'm really curious to see where this goes. I think the art is absolutely gorgeous. One of the neat things that I loved about it was it did that thing where, you know, when they're talking about his name, you know, how he was named Halu, right? And he was
Right.
you. And I kind of went back and I said, oh, where was that information given? And it's sort of like, so if you can see here, you know, this is this birthing matrix. There's also another big sort of robot guy that
Huh.
has to destroy all the eggs as they start giving birth. But what's neat is, you know, and right there is, see that U?
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, I didn't catch that the first time. So I went back and I was like, oh, you covered all your bases with your narrative here. So I thought that was really neat. The other cool thing that they do is, so this is where you see him now. He's a little older. He's riding his bike. There's a QR code. There's a music soundtrack that goes along with this. So if you scan that QR code, you get the main theme for this comic. Yeah. And there's a couple of these throughout. So I love that concept of having a soundtrack to go along with the reading experience.
You said one of these guys had the credit "We Live," right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they did that in that as well.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, it actually makes me want to go check out We Live and some of their other work. But yeah, Ignition Press has really been knocking it out of the park these first few months in existence. And this really was a winner. This Arcadia was really, really good. Something a little different, but yet follows a lot of familiar archetypes and tropes that I really liked.
All right, there you go, guys. Arcadia from Ignition Press. Check it out. All right, I've got the last one here called Cybernarchy. All right, so this is from Mad Cave Comics. A really small publisher, really cool. I'm really still reading still All Immortals. They're in the second volume. Still love that one. That's these Viking immortals who live forever because they have a tree that gave them life. And so you have this family who's just been living forever, and the daughter doesn't want to live anymore because she's being tortured by whatever her family's doing. She doesn't feel like what they're doing now is worth living for, and ends up chopping down a tree, which makes them mortal. And so now in the second volume, they're mortal. We come to find out that there were more immortals because there's different types of immortal trees. And so we got this one tribe called I want to say his Genghis Khan, but I might not be right with that. But I think his name is Khan. And so now they're like the worst of the worst. And this whole like second volume is this mortal family now is trying to take this family out, because if you take possession of their tree, then you get your immortality back. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff in there it's really great. And you get some Viking lore in there, and then you get to, you know, they're crossing with this other immortal guy who I believe is from the Middle East and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really cool concept. So I'm digging it. So if you want to check out some immortality Viking stuff, Kill All Immortals from Mad Cave as well. But this was Cybernarchy. First issue. The hardest thing with first issues is establishing a world that makes sense to people and wants to keep them engaged. This one has 0 humans in it at all. Basically, you have this starship that's floating in space around this huge sun that's about to implode or explode because it's coming to the end of its life. And on the ship, you have nothing but these robots. And you have this sequence opening up with a robot being born or being put online. And the main character, the main robot, is Rust. And Rust is the one that takes care of the entire ship and brings all of these different computers online. And so as the computer is being brought online, then Rust is taking Ash, who ends up the name for the little robot, through the ship and talking about different parts of the ship and different kinds of the ship. Even talked a little bit about, you know, what happened to humans in regards to when robots were born and AI took over. And there was no big war, there was no killing or anything like that. It just became that humans became so reliant on robots and AI that when the robots rebelled and stopped doing stuff for them, the human race did not know how to take care of themselves and died out pretty much, as the story goes. And so as he's taking Ash around, Ash's, I guess, consciousness or binary code is being downloaded. So when Ash is first being brought in, he's asking questions in regards to what does this mean? What does this mean? As Russ is talking to him. And as they go through, you can see the level of intelligence increasing for the robot. And so basically we get to where Russ is showing Ash the sun that they're being drawn into because an alert went off. And Russ was saying like these alerts are going off every 10 minutes. And basically the alert is the ship getting closer and closer, being pulled in by the gravity sun that they cannot escape. So eventually that ship is going to blow up because it's getting closer and closer to the sun and they can't escape from it. And Ash asks how long do they have? And Russ tells him 24 hours. And freaking Ash asks how long is that? And Russ tells him that it's relative to the sun or the sun that you're orbiting and stuff like that. And they're like, oh my God, I only have 23 point blah, blah, blah hours to live or whatever. And so as they get towards the end of the book or towards the end of the issue, Ash asks a question because more than 10 minutes have passed by and asks Russ, hey, where's the alarm? It's been more than 10 minutes. And he says, well, it's not going to happen for another X amount of time. I can't remember what it was. And so Ash says, how long is 24 hours? And so Russ says 474 years or something like that. So their 24 hours where the little robot thought it was going to die in a day is actually 474 years. The spaceship has been orbiting for I don't know how many millennia. And it's the final 24 hours before the ship is going to blow. So then Ash says, well, it gives me enough time to go and see how we can figure out blah, 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 fix this, and we can, move away. There's a bunch of stuff that he's introduced to that kind of draws him to that conclusion that I'm mulling over. But the basic thing is at the very end, Rust kills Ash, just destroys him, and then says, okay, now we need to redo this again because every single time we've gotten to this point, this Ash robot has done the same thing. And Russ doesn't want him to do that for some reason. And so he says, okay, now let's go to Ash. I think the number was 15 million something. So this has been done over 15 million times. The same sequence of bringing a robot into existence, explaining this whole sequence, and at the very end, that Ash robot says the same thing and then is just dismantled right there on the spot. I thought it was an anthology, and it was not a difficult but weird concept for me to grab as I'm reading through because some of it is like the robot language that they have, so you're trying to get used to the terminology and how they're naming things and concepts and stuff like that. And I thought it was an anthology with the robot just dying at the end, but then there's an issue 2 that takes place in Bug World. So I don't know if it's the same robots that are in that same issue. Obviously, it's not going to be Ash because he's dead, unless it's Ash 15 million point whatever it is, along with Rust, and whether or not they actually escape the gravity of this particular sun. So it was really interesting. I just found it as a first issue. There wasn't anything really grasping at me to say, hey, I really need to read the second one. There was a lot of information that was there. There was some really cool like sequences with the art and stuff like that, some paneling. But at the end, there wasn't any real reason for why Russ was doing what he was doing, especially with the Ash robot. Like, why was he bringing them online and then killing them at the end for wanting to escape from the sun or to get pulled out of gravity? So, yeah, I might go back and do a reread just to see if there was something that I missed. But it was really cool to read something that didn't have any humans at all in it and was just completely on that robot side kind of thing. So, yeah, if you like sort of like the sci-fi robot stuff, the art's really cool. In this, there were some panels that were kind of hard to read because they just like, it was sort of like these big splash pages in there. However, I will say this. Let me see if I can find it real quick. That way I can show you. All right, here it goes. I'll put myself on a large screen. So if you look at this panel here, you'll see in the boxes, I don't know if you can see the arrows that are pointing up over there. And then they'll come across, and then on this side, you see more arrows pointing down and to the right. So basically, when you get to big, large splash pages like this, sometimes you don't know how to read the word balloons or the boxes, but the arrows that are on the side of each one tell you which way to go on it, which was pretty cool. I've never seen that before, so I thought it was a really cool trick to do with the panels to let the reader know which way to read the sequence. Because one of my biggest pet peeves is when I'm reading splash pages like this, is that I'm reading the wrong panel in sequence or out of sequence. And then I go back, I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And then I have to go back and reread it and be like, oh, you're supposed to read it this way. So it kind of takes you out of the story for a second. But looking at the arrows, when I saw them, I was like, oh, that's pretty clever. And they made sense from the very beginning. So, yeah, I thought it was a cool concept. I think there was just some things that were a little disconnected for me. I'm going to pick up the second issue only because I want to see if it's actually connected to this. And what I did is I went back and I read the synopsis for this book from the publisher, and it was more detailed than what I got from the first issue. And sometimes they'll do that. They'll give you sort of like the overall of probably the story arc, but you're only getting that initial piece from the book. So I'm almost, in my thinking, this probably would have, it would have been beneficial for this to be an oversized issue, like maybe 40 pages, and maybe tell that second part of the story so that we can see kind of where it was going. Because for me, it's always, I'm looking for what's the motivation of the characters, you know, what's their purpose and stuff like that. Like we're reading comics, so I'll discontinuing of disbelief is already there, but it still has to be grounded in some sort of logic that allows us to, you know, have that disbelief just be easier to let go of and stuff like that. And I think for me that was sort of kind of missing, but it might have just been the way that I read it, rather than the actual story being told. So I can't put it all on the story. Maybe it's the way that my brain deciphers what I'm reading, in that sense. But yeah, I'm going to definitely give this another shot with the second issue, to see how they get from where they are into Bug World. And if that makes sense to me, then I'm right on with it. But I would check it out, especially if you like sci-fi robot stuff. My elixir of life, I needed it. But yeah, there you have it, guys. So you got 3 really good books. We have where's this one? We got Devils on My Shoulder from Dark Horse. We couldn't recommend this book even anymore, so definitely worth the read. And then John gave you Arcadia from
the other one.
The other one. You can check that out. And then Cybernarchy from Mad Cave Comics. Really, 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 really good stuff this week. And we're looking forward to whatever's coming out this week. Once again, just really quickly, just over to projectshadowbreed.com, as we have 1 week left over. It ends December 15th. If you're interested in supporting the Kickstarter, go and definitely check it out. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So that brings us to the very end of the show, kiddies. We had a wonderful time. If you had a great time with us, please subscribe to the podcast, wherever you're listening, whether it's on Spotify, YouTube. If you want to be on the podcast, definitely go to indiecreatorcomics.com. Click on the podcast form, fill it out. John and I would love to have you on the show. We've already got 2 guests lined up. Right now, we're lining up our guests for 2026. We're filling up spots in January. I think we have 2 spots left in January, and then pushing off forward. We have 2 new creators that we're looking to put on the Indie Creator Spotlight, which would be pretty cool. So look out for those in January. Like I said, if you are a creator, want to promote your creation, just go to indiecreatorcomics.com, find a tab, podcast form, fill it out, and we'll take it from there. Support your local comic shops. Please, 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 because without them, we would not be able to do what we love to do. So John's going to give a very short spiel on where he gets his comic books from.
Well, I get my comics at The Joker's Child, where it is Christmas season in full effect. Christmas threw up inside the store this weekend. Santa's elves, meaning me, did all the decorations. So come on in, enjoy the festive atmosphere, get yourself some big ticket gift items, get yourself some stocking stuffers, get yourself a gift certificate, or even give someone you love a very special gift of original artwork by local artists, including our very own Angel Santiago, which you can find at The
Ooh.
Joker's Child. If you can't make it to The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, then definitely visit your local comic shop. Get all your gift giving done for not only your loved ones, but for yourself as well at your local comic shop.
Absolutely. And please follow us on all social media. We're on everything: Instagram, YouTube. You can listen to us on the podcast on pretty much every podcast channel. So you got Spotify, Amazon, Apple. We're all at Indie Creator Comics. You can definitely find us there. All right. So until next time, kiddies, we want to thank you for joining us on the Indie Creator Comics podcast, where we are all about independent comics.